So I try to give people time to do that. And I also try to give people time to catch up. Like, I don't want you guys to fall behind. If for any reason you have anything in week 2 that you need to turn in, please, please, please let me know. Don't be shy about that. One thing I want to say to you guys, because you guys are Arbondale, right? Now,
Me? Yes.
all y'all are Arbondale, right? This whole crew. Is that not true? Isn't everybody here from Arbondale? Give me a thumbs up. Yep, all you guys are from Arbondale. Now listen, why was my attendance so low in Arbondale on Thursday? Because I'm pretty sure all you guys came. Did something happen? Did something happen?
I don't know. Probably you
No,
fall
it's for
on
the
your
people that
computer.
didn't, huh? For the
I
people that
said
did not turn in
probably
their
you
assignment.
fall on your computer where you from, because yesterday I see the email. It was upgrade all my stuff yesterday.
No, I'm not talking about grades. I'm talking about attendance from Thursday. The grades are fine because everybody had until yesterday to turn in their assignments. That's why everybody got their grades yesterday. But I'm talking about attendance. All you guys came, but then I think they know who they are. Y'all did not do attendance. You have to do the attendance question to get attendance, okay? All right, so make sure you do the attendance question today. Please, please, please. You're already here, so why not do the attendance question to get your points?
But we doing the attention question. I don't know.
No, you do the attendance question.
Okay.
They know who they are. Please, everybody do the attendance question so you can get your points, okay? All right. All right. So, with that being said, I know people are busy. Some people even, or have jobs. So I'm going to get you in and get you out. Let's talk a little bit about chapter 11, because it's going to piggyback off what we learned in chapter 10, right? So, quick thing, we're at the midpoint review. All grades have been completed. If you turn something in after 9 o'clock, you'll get your grades tonight or tomorrow. Make sure you're checking your grades, guys. Your campuses will look at your grades at this point. If anybody is falling behind, they may reach out to you. So that's why I want to encourage you to get things done. If you need assistance, please let me know. So getting back to chapter 11, I want to talk about something that may be obvious, but may not be so obvious. And this is called first impression. We've all heard of first impressions, right? We know, right? But I want to talk about how that affects your interview. So we'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about basic stuff, the typical job interview, explain second interviews, because like I said before, I prefer panel interviews, but if you don't get a panel interview, that means you'll probably have to do a second interview. So we're just going to touch on what that is. And then lastly, what to do in the post-interview process. So my friends, we are all human. The person that is interviewing you is also human. What does that mean? That means that when you meet someone for the first time, there will be a lot of what we call psychological nuances that come into play that may or may not affect your interview. We call those subjective elements. Subjective elements are factors that unfortunately could contain bias and is more emotional than logical. What does that mean? What am I saying to you? Your interviewer could judge you. Big surprise, right? Your interviewer could judge you. Well, why would they judge me, Miss Taylor? A number of reasons. Let's say, how many of us have tattoos or multiple piercings, for example, right? Believe it or not, there are, generations, there are people that are a bit more conservative, and they may or may not, you come, you have short sleeves on, and maybe, a lot of your tattoos are visible, and maybe you have some really cool ones, or maybe you have some, ones that are a little bit more, eyebrow raising. And what happens when maybe they really like your tattoos? And so you guys spend the first 10 or 15 minutes talking about tattoos, or 5 minutes talking about tattoos. Or maybe they have an issue with tattoos. And so they're kind of looking you up and down and judging you, saying, oh, what type of person is this? Miss Taylor, are you telling me to hide my tattoos? What I am telling you to do is be aware of the fact that people can be judgy, and you don't want to give them any reason to judge. So, what do we tell people? Dress conservative. Dress conservative. Is it because we don't want them to judge you? Not just because of that. When you are at an interview, the interviewer should pay attention to what you have to say. They should not pay attention to how you're dressed. They should not pay attention to your tattoos and your piercings. They shouldn't pay attention to how you smell. We tell people the interviewer could have an allergy. Like, don't overdo the cologne and the perfumes. You don't want them to have anything to say, oh yeah, the loud smelling guy. You remember that guy? He smelled so loud. Like, you don't want that drama. It's a bias. You don't want them to say, oh, you remember that person, they had the one with all the piercings? No. What do you want them to remember? You want them to remember the answers to the questions that you gave in the interview. Chapter 11 even goes on to talk about color, and, to wear muted colors. I know many of you may have seen people say, or in chapter 11, you'll even notice they'll say wear muted colors, browns, blues, grays, blacks. Why? Not because you're supposed to dress as if you're going to interview at a bank. It's because we don't want anything to be distracting. When you wear earth toned colors, the blues, the grays, the browns, there's nothing fancy about that. So you force people to look at your face. You want the interviewer to look at your face. Think about it. You put yourself in the interviewer's shoes. Whose face would you pay the most attention to? Someone that is dressed conservatively, they don't have anything flashy going on, they don't have a bunch of jewelry and bangles clanking all over the place every time they raise their hands. They're dressed conservatively, and they have positioned themselves in such a way that you're looking at their face? Or would you be more distracted by someone that maybe had too much cologne on, really flashy colors, all their tattoos are showing? Like, which one would you be more distracted by? Put yourself in the interviewer's shoes. Sometimes they can look past it, but why take the risk? It's not because you want them to like you. It's because you want them to remember the words that are coming out of your mouth. Remember, this is a competition of sorts, right? They have to compare your words against someone else's. And oftentimes they don't take copious notes, right? How often do you see the interviewer? Yeah, if they have some interview questions, you may see them jot down a few things here or there, but most of it is what they remember. And what do you want them to remember? You want them to remember what you say. Does that make sense? Not because you want them to like you, because you want to beat out the next guy. And the competition is what you say, not what you look like, not how you smell. So this is the one time where your words mean everything. Does that make sense, guys? This is the one time what you say is going to carry the most weight. So that is why people say get rid of that bias. Don't do anything or wear anything that will make them forget your words and only think about, oh, yeah, the one with those big clunky shoes on. No, you don't want any of that, right? Because you don't want that to detract from your interview. Now, we talked about in person. We've said, reiterating again from chapter 10 that be on time. Can that make people judge you? Will people judge you if you're late? You better believe it, right? They're going to judge you. They're going to think, oh, is this person going to? And especially if you come and you start with all the reasons that you were late, which could totally be valid, they're going to look at it like what? An excuse. Oh, this person is already coming with excuses. This is the one time where you need to make sure that you are on time, barring some catastrophic reason that was beyond your control. This is the one time you need to be on time, right? And like I said before, from the moment that you drive onto that lot, you are at the interview. Do not trust anybody. I am telling you, you may not know how many jobs you may or may not have gotten because somebody was watching you, checking you out. Maybe not you or somebody else, was on the phone with their spouse having an argument right before the interview, and the person that is interviewing you is sitting in the car next, or they could be looking outside the window. Maybe the receptionist heard you. Like, my friends, don't trust anybody at the job. They don't know you, so they will judge you. It's not because they're bad people. It's human nature. Don't give them anything but what you want them to see, right? We talked about virtual interviews. We won't go into that. But what I will say about virtual interviews, make sure you do your research on virtual interviews if you have to do a virtual interview, specifically when it comes to different techniques. Like I mentioned being extra, a little bit animated in your personality. If you have the personality that's a little bit more reserved, it can come across as stoic. Let's say you're the type of person, someone asks you a question, you answer the question, and you're waiting around for the next. Some other people are a little bit more expressive, a little bit more animated. You almost have to be a little bit more animated if you have to do a virtual interview. I hope none of you have to do a virtual interviews, but just be mindful of that. Now, when it does come to that second interview, unfortunately, you must treat that second interview as if it's your first interview. Why is that? Just because you interviewed with Bob and Bob says, ooh, I really like Cynthia. I think Cynthia is the best person for the job. He could be my immediate supervisor, but his boss, Sarah, wants to have the final say. And Sarah may even have somebody else in mind. You don't know Sarah. And you may think, oh, me and Bob had a great interview. For sure, I got the job. And then here comes Sarah, who really likes the other guy they just interviewed last week. And you need to impress Sarah, but you're thinking it's in the bag. So you are a little bit more reserved with Sarah. You're answering the questions, but you're not really putting your best foot forward, and it could affect you. You need to treat that second interview. I pray you don't have to do a third interview. I've done that. As if it is your first interview. Until they offer you the job, you do not have the job, right? So do not get comfortable with interviews. A lot of people get really comfortable as soon as they get that second call back. and you cannot get the job. Is it rare? Sometimes it's rare, right? But it depends on the type of work it is. It depends on the type of job it is, right? Sometimes it even depends on if the company was burned in the past, and so now they're extra cautious, and they want to make sure that everybody meets the candidates first, right? So you never know. In an extreme case, I had a friend. Now he was up for a high-ranking position at a campus similar to yours, the campus directors. You guys have all seen them, and he had to do 11 interviews and he still did not get the job. What? Yes, he had to interview with faculty, he had to interview with the operations staff, financial aid, students, what was it, the board, and he did not get the job. Can you imagine? Oh, let me go ahead and just really turn the knife. And he worked there. He worked there. They quote unquote loved him. Didn't get the job. Right? So talk about, you know, counting your eggs before they hatch. You don't want to be that guy, right? So treat that second interview as if it is your first interview until HR sends you something saying you got the job. Do you have the job? Absolutely not. Which is why, what do you need to do once you finish those interviews? Number one, you are going to go back. The first thing you are going to do is look at your notes, because hopefully you will be doing a lot of interviews and you need to gauge, okay, does this job pay enough? Is it the type of work I want to do? Is it more than the type of work I want to do? Because they're going to send you an offer. Sometimes they'll even offer you the job on the spot. So you may even have to do some self-reflection, while you're there. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do if they offer you the job on the spot. We're all adults. Standard, they say just ask them to take a day because you want to go talk to your family, whatever. You want to go get, you don't have time to evaluate. Now, in rare instances where they've told you everything you want to hear, you're happy, they're happy, and they offer you the job and you like it, take it, right? If other instances where maybe you applied at this job and you applied at another one, or maybe you have an interview the next day and you want to, you know, see first, right? I don't encourage anybody to rush and take a job. If you have other options, I've seen people take jobs and then have to quit in the first week because they go to the other job that wanted them. So I say make sure you take your time to evaluate. After you interview, my friends, immediately within 24 hours, send a thank you message to the person. This is why one of the things you want to do in that interview is ask for their business card. Ask for their business card. Because remember, in the screening interview, you may not have the supervisor's information. You may only have the HR person's email, right? Because remember, they're the ones that are going to email you in some instances. Sometimes you guys will be dealing with the supervisor, and that's a moot point. But if you are dealing with HR, you only have their email. And sometimes they're persnickety about copying the other people. Sometimes they do. So pay attention to that in the email. If they've copied other people, it could be the person that you're interviewing with. If you have their email already, you don't have to ask for a card. But if I don't have their email, I will ask for their card. Why? Because immediately after the interview, you have your notes, it's fresh in your mind. You are going to send them a thank you follow-up message. You are going to thank Tom for his time, for interviewing you. And the one thing that you're going to do, and you'll be writing practice thank you letters to your mock interview people, is say one thing that was critical in that interview that Bob told you, right? So if you're interviewing with Bob and he told you that this HVAC project, this electrical project, this whatever project is new and it's going to start next week, just mention it. I'm really excited about the opportunity to, get started on this new project next week with this company you guys have never worked with before. Whatever Bob has told you, this lets Bob know you were paying attention. If you can remember something Bob seemed really excited about, that is what I would put in the thank you. Because now Bob is thinking, oh my God, he or she really listened to me, stroke Bob's ego. Say something, make Bob, let Bob know that you remember what he had to say. But send that thank you message to Bob within 24 hours. It could set you apart from the next guy. Also, my friends, manage your emotions. How many times have we wanted something, a car, a house, a job? And guess what? There's somebody else that also thinks that car, that house, and that job is there. They need it too. You are not the only person that looked at that job description and said, this is the perfect job for me, right? So we have to manage our emotions. Again, until you have the job, you don't have the job. Makes sense? We know that. So what are you going to do? You are going to continue your job search, especially if you've asked them where are they in the job search process, and they've told, I'm sorry, in the interview process, and they've told you that you're the first candidate, or they've just started, with their interviewing. Are you going to just sit around and wait for them to finish? No, you are going to continue to aggressively apply for jobs and aggressively interview until somebody, offers you a position that makes sense for you. All right. So that is what chapter 11 is talking about. It also goes on and it talks to you about the, like I said, the job. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I'm going to say, if your career services is helping you get a job, I'm not telling you to negotiate. The book is explaining to you the typical process, right? So if the HR person sends you an offer, you've evaluated the job overnight, you think it pays 25, she offers you 23, you are supposed to negotiate. That's how it works. Do you have to negotiate? You do not. But this is where you go back and forth with how much money. Now, how do you negotiate? Well, you simply say, thank you so much, Ms. Smith, for, giving me an opportunity to interview. I really loved, the work that you guys are doing and the project that's rolling out next week. Based on the information provided to me, the position seems as if it looks like a supervisory role, or maybe I have to do travel twice a week, or maybe I'm required to do 3 projects instead of 2. $25 an hour is where I was hoping to start. And you send it back to Ms. Smith and see what she has to say. That is how it works. You don't just say, oh, I want 25 bucks an hour. You go based on the facts, because 9 times out of 10, that job probably pays anywhere between $17 and $30. They just want to give you 20 because maybe the last guy got 20, or maybe 20 is in their budget. That's not your problem. If they can pay up to 30 and you've looked at the job and you said 25, that's when you're supposed to negotiate. Because remember, you're not like the last guy. You're bringing in other skills that person may or may not have had, and you have to advocate for yourself. Remember, you're the business. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Do we all understand how the salary negotiation process goes? Now, again, if they tell you on the front end, this is how much the position pays, you go through the interview and you don't like it, is it, you feel like it should pay more, it is, you're not technically, supposed to negotiate. You're just supposed to say, okay, well, unfortunately, I can't do it at $20 an hour, and here's why. Don't make them pressure you into taking a job when the pay is too low, because they'll say, oh, well, we told you on the front end. You're like, yeah, you told me on the front end, but you didn't explain the job in detail. Only after the interview did I really know what I was getting myself into, right? Let's say you're in the VA program and you're working for a small pet, clinic, and then they throw on you, oh, well, we do rescues on the weekend. And sometimes we have to travel. We have to travel to Tallahassee, all as far as up to Tallahassee to get the animal. Wait a minute now, wait a minute. You expect, and if anybody knows, working with pet shelters and stuff, sometimes they have to go get those animals in the middle of the night or some emergency or something like that. You may have to pay me a little bit more, right? That wasn't in the job description, that those types of things need to be there, but sometimes they forget. So that's why it's up to you to negotiate your salary. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions on that? Okay. I think we all know, right? All right. So here's your participation question for today. I want for you, yes, another video, guys. You don't have to do the video option, though. I want you to show me or describe what you would personally wear to your interview. I don't know if you guys are all in the same program, so different people may wear different things. Please do not say a shirt and pants. Please don't do that. Tell me how you would dress for your particular interview. Maybe you may say, oh, if it's a working interview, here's what I would wear. If it's not a working interview, here's what I would wear, based upon what you know. Some people have to wear scrubs. Some people have to wear steel-toed boots. Some people, are told to dress down. So do you know? Do you know? Which is really what this question is about. Do you even know how you're supposed to dress? All right. That's your participation question for today. Easy breezy question. Go do it right now. I need 100% participation. If you do not do the participation question, you do not get attendance. I want the people in the back to hear me. Go do it right now so you can get attendance. Yes? Does everybody understand?
Yes.
Andrea, you don't understand. I have to say it for the people in the back. Everybody do the participation question so we can get attendance. Yes? All right, my friends. Thank you so much. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you guys so much. Like I said before, I'll continue to grade. If you owe me something, if for any reason you had trouble with the midterm, you need it open, email me. Email me. All right, let's get it done. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too, honey.